Okay, hello everybody. Mike, do you want to do a quick mic check?
Yeah, testing, testing. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah, I believe we are live and I can hear you on my end, so I think we're all good.
Excellent. So yeah, this is I believe this is our first ever live reaction segment, I
Yeah.
believe ever. So you can tell everybody what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the switch up happening over at DC Movies with James Gunn, and we should probably figure out who the other guy is too. I can't remember his name.
No one knows his
But
name. It's
yeah, I
okay, but
feel so bad.
I'll look it up right now.
Um,
Yeah.
but the switch up at DC is happening right now, and the big news out of all of this is that it looks like the Snyderverse is out. Everything is being switched up and rebooted or whatever, and sadly, Henry Cavill is no longer going to be playing Superman, which definitely sucks because he recently left The Witcher,
Hmm.
his Netflix series, to continue on as Superman after The Rock kind of campaigned hard to bring him back, and they were going to be, bringing it in a new direction and everything. And then with the switch up with James Gunn coming in, they're going to be going and starting like a younger Superman now and show him more in like high school, I guess, or college, and then keep him around for a while, whatever actor they're going to bring in. But it's not going to be Henry Cavill. So it's pretty crazy that this is all happening and the switch up and how quickly it like everything happened too. Like I think it was 2 months ago when Black Adam came out that they announced that he was officially back.
I think the movie came out a month ago though, right?
Yeah,
I
but it
think
was
it
before the
was
movie
announced before
because they
that. Yeah,
spoiled the
sure.
they
But
spoiled the like after credit scene or whatever before the
but
movie even came out. But
here's the thing is I got to say first of all, I feel bad, but I felt like the moment, even before James Gunn and Peter Safran were announced as, actually, no, I would say as soon as they were announced, but even going back 2 or 3 years, I kind of just saw the writing on the wall that the Snyderverse was done. The fact that
yeah,
they brought back the Justice League Snyder Cut was a fluke. If it wasn't for COVID, that would never have happened, right?
yeah, I totally agree.
And then it came out and it was supposedly a success, but then we find out later that a lot of the accounts that campaigned for the cut were fake, right?
Mm.
So anyway, there's all kinds of scandal, but never mind that. When Henry Cavill was announced as having a cameo in Black Adam, I'm not kidding. I mean, I can say this now, hindsight's 2020, but I just felt like, why are they doing this when we all know he's not going to be in the next Superman movie? And so I must be the only one on the internet that when this announcement was made a few days ago, I was like, well, yeah, of course he's not. I mean, we can all see the direction they're going. They're getting rid of Ezra Miller. They just announced Gal Gadot's done as Wonder Woman. So this doesn't surprise me at all. And I think I'm maybe the only one on the internet that's actually happy about it.
Um,
Not and
I
nothing against Henry Cavill personally, but
yeah,
I don't want to see another Superman movie with this version of Superman because he's not the real Superman to me.
yeah, I like Henry Cavill, and if from what they were talking about moving forward when they were going to be doing Superman or when he was going to be portraying him, it was going to be a more true to form comics version of Superman.
Hmm.
And even in like interviews and stuff, when they were talking about him coming back, he was like, "This is going to be a different Superman than what you've seen from me
Sure.
before." So I was really looking forward actually for his return because of that. Because I think he is pretty great in the role. He looks the part for sure. He's really fun in The Witcher,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy him in that. It's sad that he's not going to be able to continue on with that now because they've already recasted that character.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a little disappointing that he's just full on gone. But I will say, I was shocked that that they're completely wiping the slate clean, because from them putting all of their money into Black Adam and The Rock, and kind
Right.
of like making him in charge, and then bringing James Gunn in,
Hmm.
who has done probably the most successful DCEU movie,
Yep.
both financial, maybe not financially
But
necessarily,
critically,
but critically
right.
for sure,
Yeah.
with the new Suicide Squad. I didn't think that he would want to erase everything. So are they going to be picky with what they erase? Is now the Suicide Squad gone? Is Margot Robbie out as Harley Quinn after the
Well,
extreme how extremely successful that is? So no matter what, it's going to still be a semi reboot. So
right.
the
But
fact that they're cutting Henry Cavill out did come as a shock to me.
here's the thing, though, is the Suicide Squad was successful, but Birds of Prey was a bomb,
Sure, yeah, but I
right?
feel like yeah.
And I mean, I'm not blaming Margot Robbie,
No,
but
not at
it
all.
was
Yeah,
not a success. And I mean, again, Marvel's numbers are always like this, and DC's are like this, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't know how one like they can have the Joker make a billion, they can have Aquaman make a billion, but then Birds of Prey makes like $20. Like I don't understand. It makes like 2001 superhero movie numbers. Like it's bizarre.
Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
it doesn't make sense. And that
right.
was that was pre-pandemic, I believe, Birds of Prey, right? Like that was
It might have been.
2019.
No, 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 no. It was
Really?
in the middle of it. Yeah, it was in the middle
Oh,
of it.
okay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it was still really low, all things considered.
Hmm.
But the thing is, though, is I guess I summarize it by saying you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet because I love Gal Gadot, but I'm sorry, to me, any connection to the Snyderverse, they have to wipe out. So you're gonna lose her. You might as well lose Jason Momoa and get him as Lobo and get a new guy as Aquaman playing the old blonde Aquaman, right, from the
Hmm.
comics. Batman's already been recast as what's his name, Robert Pattinson, right?
I think that they've already confirmed though that they're not
Sure.
bringing Robert Pattinson in now.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's all, like Matt Reeves' Batman
sure.
universe is still going to be
Okay.
separate.
And but then again, now we have the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix
Hmm.
with a different Harley Quinn in the next Joker movie. So
Right.
it's like I mean, are they going to try and make a coherent universe? I don't know, but I do know that everything they've done so far, despite the fact that there's been some movies I like, has been such a mess that I think they see, including Black Adam, that I think
Yeah.
they see the only way to go forward is to just start fresh. That's what I think. But now, start fresh doesn't mean start fresh next week. It means maybe include the Suicide Squad, maybe include the Peacemaker, hopefully, because they're so good,
Right.
right? But
Yeah, I'm really not sure what they're gonna do with it. Maybe what they can do is, since it's already been delayed, and since it feels like they've already got to do some retconning, maybe they can introduce something in this new Flash movie with the Flashpoint
right,
and the multiverses, and they can just kind of explain that there's so many different things, so that can kind of be an excuse to have a bunch of different versions of
sure,
these stories. Um, so they can continue doing Matt Reeves Batman. They can continue Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, but then
sure.
all of the new movies and stuff, they can do like a young Justice League and kind of not necessarily redo their origins, because I don't want to see that again. But I think showing them younger, a little less gritty and dark, and just make it something separate and different from the
Mm,
Snyderverse, it will really help. Um, Not that I don't necessarily like the more like realistic, dark, gritty tone, because Matt Reeves' Batman was one of my favorite movies from
sure.
this
Well,
year, and
it
that
suits
works.
Batman. It
Yeah,
suits Batman, but not the rest of them, right?
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I'm hoping that that's the direction that they're going to go, and kind of just explain it away with
Sure.
this like multiverse thing, and they can kind of pick and choose what they want to carry on.
Well, here's the thing: is Marvel did a similar thing when they delayed the release of New Mutants by 5 years. Or however long, 4 or 5 years. They should have released it the first time it was scheduled, got it out of the way. Now with this Flash movie, I mean, Flash has been delayed. I think you said what, a full 5 years, right?
It's been
Like
a while,
as long
yeah.
as the Flash TV show's been on the air, the movie's been announced. So that's how long it's been. Not delayed, but talked about or
Talked
planned.
about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think the thing with the Flash movie is first of all, having your first Flash movie as Flashpoint, which is a reboot in itself, is a huge mistake. But now it's been so long, they might as well use it as a reboot for this DC universe, right?
Yeah.
So what they should have done is said, okay, Henry Cavill's back as Superman, then release the Flash movie or the Flashpoint movie, had Henry Cavill in it, and then that's when they could have rebooted. But now they've
Mm-hmm.
already announced it like 7 months before the Flash movie is going to finally come out.
Yeah,
So,
that's super strange. And I wonder how far they're into production if they can't change anything now
right,
because they've also changed things so many times up until now
right, right,
that this movie's budget is probably not what they originally announced. It's definitely inflated by now.
right.
So maybe they just couldn't afford to make any more changes and they
Sure.
just want to push it out. So who knows? But yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Throughout all of this too, they've talked about the original pitch for bringing Michael Keaton back was to do a Batman Beyond. I don't know if you heard
Okay.
about this, which
Was that okay?
I think would have been the smart move instead of bringing him back in Flash
Uh,
because like it's interesting to have him in Flashpoint because you can have the
sure.
multiverse, different universe of different like versions of Batman, but having like um, Terry McGinnis be like a new Batman in the Tim Burton universe and
Hmm.
having Tim Burton Batman being like a mentor to him, just like in the Batman Beyond comics and show. I think that would have been fun. And again, it doesn't have to be related to all of this DC reboot stuff. It can be its
Sure.
own thing and then, be done. So, yeah, I don't know. It definitely feels like it's kind of all over the place. Um, I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's going to be really weird watching these movies like Aquaman 2 and Shazam 2 knowing
Right.
that it's done, but they wanted to originally continue it.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be really strange for sure.
It is. I think, and most of the feedback I've seen has been very negative. But again, I've just felt like for so long like this was inevitable. So I'm kind of surprised that everyone else is surprised. That's how I feel about it. You know?
I think I'm just surprised because they just announced him coming back. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting because of how like successful some of the other things were, I
Hmm.
didn't think that they were going to just flat out reboot it
Sure.
because of the success of Aquaman and how everybody loves Jason Momoa
Hmm.
and him as Aquaman, right? So now he's going to be gone as Aquaman. Gal Gadot is gone as Wonder Woman.
Right.
Um, Harley Quinn, like again, Margot Robbie exiting as Harley Quinn is definitely gonna suck because if they're introducing a young Superman, they're gonna be introducing a young Batman, and then when they inevitably do another Joker, is that Joker now gonna be connected to that Harley Quinn or like you know what I mean? Like everything is
Sure.
gonna be all so mixed up and wrong. I really didn't think that they were gonna just do that much of a crazy reboot. Maybe even like cast a new Batman, but then
Sure.
continue it on with Super. You know what I mean? Like Henry
Sure.
Cavill's Superman. I'm not sure what's gonna happen now, but
Well,
it's kind of a bummer. Even though that this franchise that they've set up is a hot mess and it
mhm.
has its ups and downs. Um, it's gonna be weird to see it go for sure.
Yeah, I guess the thing is as we know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe began in 2008, right?
Yep,
2008, I think.
2008 with Iron Man. Yeah.
And I've, you can say what you will about the quality of the content, but as far as planning, nobody can beat them for planning, right?
Mhm.
Star Wars tried and failed at a plan, right? The Dark Universe was a joke. It flopped after one
Mu-
movie,
Well,
right?
multiple first movies. Yeah.
Multiple first movies, right?
Yeah.
The Godzilla King Kong universe
It's
kind
still
of
going
competitive.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind
but
of still going, but
nobody, yeah, no one's been able to match them. And with DC, I don't know. It's like it's like not only have they screwed up a plan, but they've done so many things. Like the fact that they had a successful Batman franchise with Christian Bale, but they didn't tie it in with Green Lantern or Man of Steel.
hmm
Started fresh with Ben Affleck, who was already over 50. That didn't. I never understood that. Like, if you're going to
hmm
start fresh, start young, but they didn't. Then they later introduced. So then they have a second Joker. Then they introduce a new Joker that not only is not connected to the main universe, but they specifically make him appear 20 years before Batman does,
yeah.
right? Because he's tied into his father. So it just seems like everything they could do wrong, they did wrong. That's what I feel like, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a whole mess. And I think if they weren't aiming to do this big universe, like
Sure.
multi movie,
Yeah,
franchise, it would be fine.
sure.
I'm cool seeing a movie like The Joker or just like a Batman solo movie or whatever.
Sure.
I think that usually when they do something like that, it's more creative and more fun, and it
Sure.
doesn't have as much like studio interference as well, trying to like mold this big money making machine.
Hmm.
So it definitely you can see how ugly it gets when it becomes that franchise maker. Because I think too, like the Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012, I believe, which
Yeah.
is when Avengers came out,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that was
Yeah.
Avengers. So, um, and Man of Steel, I'm assuming would have already been in production at least at that point. So it definitely feels like the Justice League Batman v Superman thing was in response to Avengers,
Oh, yes.
right? For sure.
100%. And also in response to the relative failure of Man of Steel. Like, they expected it to be as big as Dark Knight, but it wasn't. So I
Mhm.
think they panicked and went, "Oh, no, no, okay, let's bring back Batman," right? But as someone pointed out, the chronology of the DC movies was uh, Man of Steel, then Batman vs Superman, then I think Justice League, then Suicide Squad. And someone pointed out, if this was Marvel, that would be like having Captain America, then Civil War right away, then Guardians of
Mm,
the Galaxy. It just the chronology
right.
it just didn't make any sense. But we've mentioned that. But whew, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I guess my question is don't you feel like one of the huge mistakes they make is, for example, going back to Green Lantern, I noticed this because I love the old Silver Age Green Lantern. The opening scene of the movie introduces Parallax.
Okay.
Okay, are you familiar with Parallax?
From the Green
Green
Lantern movie?
Lantern?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, from the comics.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Because
yeah.
Parallax is a explanation for 90s crazy Hal Jordan,
hmm
okay? You don't need to introduce Parallax. It's kind of like having, like, imagine a Spider-Man movie that opened up with well, Peter Parker's parents as spies. Think about how stupid that would be. But no, think about like opening up
Or
a spy
or
or
Batman
Benoit.
v or Batman v Superman having Doomsday and killing
Oh,
off Superman before Justice
right.
League or
He
whatever,
even
right?
has a
It's
career before he even has a career, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's another example. That's another example. You're taking a 90s story that people are familiar with, but these characters are 80 years old and you're starting essentially with the almost the end of their career.
hmm
And with parallel again, like, you don't start an X-Men movie with Dark Phoenix. You
Yeah.
have to sort of set things up first. And I just it's a weird thing that DC's done and Marvel's done to some extent, but they even did it with what was it? Parallax. They did. Oh, even the Black Adam movie. You look at what they're
Mm.
doing. They introduced the Justice Society but only 3 or 4 of them. But Dr. Fate is old, but the rest are young. And then, the explanation is, well, in the comic books, the Justice Society is old. Well, yes, they are, but it's only because, again, of sort of retcon upon retcon, where they go, okay, well, the Justice Society is on Earth 2 and the Justice League's on Earth 1, and then later, after Crisis, they merge them. So now all the people in Justice Society are old, but now there's younger people. But to me, it's just like, you really don't need to obey all those weird things they did for the comic books, because if you start fresh, like, for example, the Batman Adventures animated cartoon from the 90s, it's not like they started out the animated cartoon with Azrael Batman.
Right.
Just well, he's in the comics right now, we got to have Azrael. They just went, no, this is our own version, we're just going to start fresh. We don't need to show Catwoman in her purple dress costume with a green cape and explain how did she get her tiger stripe costume, and then how did she get that. It's like, no, we're just going to start fresh and do like a version that benefits from having the hindsight of knowing what worked and what didn't, right? Yeah. And that's one huge mistake I think they're making.
Yeah, they don't have a base to jump off of, right? Like they're right. Thinking about it not as like a film or a story, but as this big cash cow that's gonna make the money. Yes. Like, okay, what is the most successful story going on right now? Okay, let's just adapt that. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows Doomsday and the death of Superman. Let's just do that right now. You're totally right. That's definitely been the problem with DCEU, in my opinion, this entire time. And like, you can definitely introduce a bunch of characters all at once and make it work. Like if you really want to make your Justice League movie, you can make that the first movie in your franchise. It's worked before. Like, look at Guardians, right? Like, you have a bunch of characters that nobody has ever heard of before. Like, no mainstream person, even most comic book readers, probably didn't know most of the Guardians before that movie came out. But they were able to introduce 5 or 6 main characters all in one movie, and it completely works. So you can do that in Justice League for sure. There's a way to do that with a good script, director, a vision, like with James Gunn. So it's definitely possible, but it doesn't feel like they were thinking about it in that sense. It was definitely like, let's adapt a famous story and make some big money off of this thing.
Right.
So
well, also, to me, you either adapt a story that's already complete. Like, for example, let's just say you were going to do Batman. You could do Batman Year One or Dark Knight or The Killing Joke or something. But you either do it that way, or you do what Christopher Nolan and Jonathan Nolan did, which is pick and choose from everything, kind of do greatest hits.
Yeah.
Right?
And make it your own.
Right, and make it your own.
For sure.
Otherwise, you're kind of, it almost seems like they're just throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks. Like, we got to throw this and we got to set that up. But it's like you said about Guardians. It was a James Gunn movie first. Like, it was his vision. Of course, he used Marvel characters. Yeah. But I think he figured out the tone he wanted, and then, he fit in what he could. But anything he didn't want to use, he just didn't use.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy that he is going to be part of the creative team moving forward, because I feel like he is definitely able to build upon things that are already established and have a plan. I don't necessarily want James Gunn directing all of these movies, and he's definitely come forward and said that, like, he's not directing Superman. I don't want him directing Superman. Like, I just don't think that his style of storytelling and comedy, it's not necessarily for Superman.
I definitely don't. I mean, I love the Peacemaker, but I don't want to see that
right
on Superman. I totally agree with you there, but I definitely think that he needs to have his finger in every pie. Is that it? Thumb? Yeah. He definitely needs. They need one person supervising everything.
Yeah. Or else it's him being the Kevin Feige of DC is perfect, I think, because he's already proven that he's able to juggle all of these characters and have these these characters develop through multiple stories, even stories that aren't like Guardians movies. Guardians
Yep.
characters are developed through the Avengers movies or
Sure.
even the Christmas special.
Sure.
Like he chose Mantis and Drax for the Christmas special because he thought that they were underutilized, didn't have a lot of character development in the Avengers movies. So he decided to focus that special on those characters to
Right.
continue their arc. Like he's just definitely thinking about this on multiple levels. And you need
Yep.
somebody like that in charge of DC for sure.
100%.
So
Yep. And also, I didn't love the holiday special, but it's all enjoyable, right?
yeah.
Just like, sorry, I can never pronounce the name, but Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
With even though most people didn't like Love and Thunder, I did like it, and even more than Love and Thunder, I love those little short films that he does with Thor's roommate. What is it, Daryl?
Daryl, yeah, I believe, yeah.
Oh, those are just genius. Like at the end of the day, they got to realize that if the individual pieces are not entertaining on their own, then nobody cares about the big picture,
Yeah.
right? So
And they need to be individual pieces first, and then you can have
Right.
that person like Kevin Feige or James Gunn connecting the threads subtly and not making the movie itself a stepping stone for another movie.
right, you can't just have a movie be a trailer for another movie.
Yeah,
You know?
which is
Right.
almost what Black Adam felt like, right? Like,
Yeah.
even during like all that I heard in interviews and promotion for it was, guess what? Superman's returning, and it's like this was an after credit scene. You can argue that it wasn't even a part of the movie because it's
Yep.
afterwards. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's a stinger. That's all after
Yes.
credit scenes are. It's not a part of the movie. It's just a little teaser.
And also, getting back to stingers, even the Batman movie, which I did pretty much like, I
Mhm.
thought that the ending with the Joker was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And
I
I think
agree.
the fact that Matt Reeves teased a longer edit, like on his Twitter feed. Remember, didn't he release a longer version of the scene?
Oh, yeah.
That was like,
I
is anybody running this company? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't mind necessarily. I didn't like it, but I don't mind stuff like the Matt Reeves tweeting out longer scenes because it's not a part of the movie. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like watching
Sure.
that on Facebook or Twitter doesn't take away from anything that happened in the movie theater when watching the movie.
Sure.
But that scene in the movie theater definitely felt like
Cringy?
it was something that was put in that was asked by the producers or something like
Yep.
that to
Yep.
tease this next thing that's going to be happening.
Yep.
Like the same thing happened in Batman Begins. At the
Oh,
end of
the
Batman
end, the
Begins,
end.
yeah,
Out.
he
Yes,
hands
I
him
rem-
he hands him the evidence bag, and
Yep.
there's just a card. That is done perfectly, I think. You don't have to cast the person and then have this whole scene
Right.
based around teasing what's going to be happening next. They could have just not even made the Dark Knight, and that scene still would have made sense because you
Yeah.
see that he's like moved from being Bruce Wayne to Batman at the end of the movie, and you know that he like becomes the character that everybody knows, fighting the Joker in
right.
Gotham. The scene in the Batman, it just doesn't work for me because I know
Yeah.
that all of this stuff is already happening. You don't need to like
Yep.
show me so like vividly. You know, just give me a little hint and get me excited for the next one.
And also, when Batman Begins came out, we had not seen a live action Joker for 16 years.
Yeah, it had been a while for sure.
Right. Now, we've seen
We have two other
Jokers.
current Jokers.
How excited, like every single year.
Oh,
there's a new
man.
Joker. And people, what even drives me even crazier is that even once, Joaquin Phoenix came out, and then once the other guy is cast, they're like, well, who else can play the Joker? Like, is this all?
Everybody gets a turn.
Just recasting the Joker? Anyway, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else we have to say? Again, no offense to Henry Cavill, he is a good actor.
Mhm.
He was great in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Right. He was good in Enola Holmes.
Mhm.
I just think that because of his association with the neck snapping Man of Steel and the rest of the Snyderverse, I'm sorry, but Even Gal Gadot. Hey, if I'm willing to sacrifice Gal Gadot, then no one's safe. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I totally get it, and I think that this is for the better.
Right.
It's just, yeah, it's a bummer that he never got to play the Superman that he wanted to play,
Yes.
um, because I think he would have done a great job. I really
Right.
do.
Yeah, he
So
should have been fine. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of people attached to his movies, and like I don't think there aren't too many characters in the DCEU that I think were miscast.
No,
Honestly, I
true.
can only think of the Joker. Like Jared Leto as
Yes,
Joker,
he
I think
was
is the
horrible. He was
only
horrible.
poor choice. Like everybody feels like they fit.
Ezra Miller was okay, but now that we know what's happening with him,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely hindsight for sure. But
Right.
I think
Right.
that they did a good job um in Snyderverse in Justice League, even though
Well,
that
I mean,
movie was not great.
yeah, like Zack Snyder, we have to give him credit for basically not discovering, but for casting Gal Gadot, casting Jason Momoa. Like that was like a smart move, right?
It,
Like it rehabilitated Aquaman's image, right?
even Ben Affleck's Batman, I think, was out of left field, but worked for the movie. Like
Not,
I,
I don't think
I,
so at all. But okay,
I
like
agree that
kind of, yeah,
he was like an older Batman. It was for the movie for the franchise that they were trying to do, and
sure,
having like an already established Batman who's already kind of like maybe a little bit past his prime. I think Ben
sure,
Affleck was a good choice. He played a
sure.
good Bruce Wayne as well. Like especially like when that was announced, it was like shockingly bad casting. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Everybody talked about
Mhm.
how awful that was, but seeing him in the movie, I think it works pretty fine for
Not for
what they
me,
needed.
but yeah, I
That's
can
fair.
understand
Yeah.
other people do think so about that. But anyway,
So, um,
yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, as far as people out there, I we do plan to do this on a semi-regular basis, right?
yeah,
So as long as people enjoy this live video, please, comment. Let us know your thoughts on Henry Cavill's firing by James Gunn and that other guy, Peter Safran. Let us
I
know.
feel so bad. I gotta remember his name for next time we talk about it because I'm sure he's gonna be just as important throughout
Sure.
this reboot of the DC universe. So
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah. Some of it is definitely a bummer, but I'm looking forward to seeing where everything's gonna be going in the future. So
Right. I'm very excited. I love James Gunn, so I could not be happier. So count me as on Team Gunn. Okay, that's
all
me
right,
right now.
perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody who was watching live and everybody who's watching after the fact. If you're watching after the fact, still leave us comments. Let us know what you guys think about this whole DC mix up and Henry Cavill. Yeah. And until next time, see you later.
All right. See you
All
later.
right. Bye.
Bye. Are we off? Okay, now